Thank you very much, and thank you for being here with me today. So, quick one, my name is Cla-Petra. I'm fondly called Petra, and the surname is Omaku. I currently work with Danske Bank. A little bit about me. My background is in construction. I used to work with real estate as a project manager on site. And I also used to lecture in the university system. So I left all that 4 years ago to just pursue a career path with data analytics because I felt it was more interesting and it was in vogue, and I really wanted to pursue things that help me make strategic decisions in a business process. So I've assumed several roles in the data journey. I've worked as a data analyst, a data scientist, and more recently, I'm very more interested in understanding business, or the end-to-end process, and that's where I found business analytics, and I currently work as a business analyst. So I love to play Scrabble. I also love to draw and paint. I love to play with kids because I think they are awesome and super simple. There is no schedule to fit in. It's just come the way you are, and I often volunteer in kid camps. So I also love to travel with my friends when I can afford it. And I love to be in spaces where we talk about automation and agility, which brings me to my topic today on how to streamline and automate using Power Platform tool as a low-code solution to basically improve our business process. Thank you guys once again. I think you guys are the real MVPs. Here is a little bit about the agenda. I'll just briefly talk about what the business process is, how do we improve it, what does Power Platform have, what role does it have to play as a low-code solution, and have some couple of examples to share with us, as well as a demo session. So quick disclaimer, I don't think everything can be automated. There are certain things that still in a business process we cannot automate because maybe it requires human interaction a bit. But it is really awesome if we can automate as much as possible so that we also can have that, you can enjoy work rather than struggle with some very routine processes or something that doesn't really give you joy in doing your work. So it's good to automate as much as possible. Then Power Platform is not the only low-code solution. This is just what we're talking about today, but there are several low-code solutions out there. So also Power Platform cannot solve all automation problems, but it does do a great job in process automation. And the use case I'm going to be sharing with you guys today, sharing with us today is a little bit tweaked. It's not exactly as the whole scenario. So before I move forward, I just want to ask if we've heard about Power Platform before or low-code solutions. And do we use them? Somewhat? Okay. Thank you. So when we talk about business process, we are basically referring to all the steps we take in doing our job. That's just a simple explanation. Whatever we do to achieve a product, whether the end result is a product or a service rendered, or it's about managing people, whatever it is, all the steps we take is what we refer to as the business process. And in context, what I want to do in this session today, I aim to achieve two major things. The first one is to be able to communicate to us some of the inefficiencies I've seen across business processes while working with previous organizations, and how I've been able to use Power Platform as a low-code solution to basically simplify such process with the hope that we can see something that is useful and applicable. And the second one is to basically communicate just my own opinion on how I think we should look at business process improvement, especially when we aim to draw up on efficient and effective solutions to that particular business process. So how should we be looking at business processes? We should basically be looking at it from two major perspectives. The first one is process rethinking, and the second is process reengineering. One leads to the other. So when we talk about process rethinking, often what people do is to basically look at the big picture of their process and look at those pain points or things that are repeated or things that basically don't work well and try to quickly draw a solution. But that can sometimes solve a problem in that particular business process. And in some scenario, it doesn't solve the big picture of the entire problem, but just a fragmented piece of it. So in order to look at process improvement and draw real efficient and effective solution, we need to look at it from this perspective of recognizing the pain point, then going behind to understand the holistic picture of why it even exists in the first place. Why is that process the way it is? Understanding that robust information as to the root cause of that particular problem will help to define more succinctly the specific problem to be addressed. And that problem becomes more, like we have a more organized thought around that particular problem, not just the pain point, but alongside the root cause of that particular pain point in the process. So then we have a well-defined problem to solve. And then we can move to evaluate our potential solutions. So if we have several solutions, we begin to compare the solution with the defined problem. We begin to see whether solution A matches with what has been defined. And if it doesn't match all the elements in that particular defined problem, you're able to just take it off your list. And at the end of the day, you're able to map the exact solution that solves that problem that has been clearly defined. And then we can move to the next phase of implementing the solution, testing and deploying such solution, which is all part of the process reengineering. When we say low code, what do we really mean? So low code just simply means the ability for everyone to be given equal playground to build a solution in their process without having to know how to code 100%. It's more like a drag and drop tool, and just understanding logic behind the problem in your process, you'll be able to start building a solution by yourself without having to engage full development team. And on the other hand, for the developers, it also helps developers to be able to just go straight to the point in solving problems and focus on the nitty-gritty of maybe the functional aspect of that problem in expanding the solution beyond what the low code can offer. So instead of developers focusing on building maybe common solutions that these apps can take care of, they focus on building more robust and integrating such application across the organization. So these are several places Power Apps can be used, several scenarios, but it's not limited to all of this. It can go beyond this. These are just the one I've recognized. Then when we talk about low-code Power Platform tool, these are the tools in Microsoft 365 domain. We have 5 of them. We have Power Apps, which can help as an interface for building customized applications. Then we have Power Automate, which helps for building workflows. We have Power BI for reporting. We have Power Pages for websites, for building websites. And also we have Power Virtual Agent, which is currently called Copilot Studio, to integrate AI as a co-pilot for our website, and also to integrate chatbots as a help and an assistant on such applications or websites. You can find more documentation on this in the Microsoft website page. So when we talk about the interface, we're talking about like Power App. That's the major interface in this suite, which is used for building the application, either a business application or an application that you basically share with your end users, with the customers. So in talking about Power Apps, we have 3 major ways to which you can build these Power Apps. We have Canvas app, as the name implies. It gives you a plain canvas, and you are able to customize it to what you want. Here you can improve the UI, it's very flexible. Then we have the model-driven app. Here it is, as the name also implies, driven by the model. So it's more driven by data, where you have several levels of data is the major driver of this particular application. For instance, your HR system. You are more concerned about onboarding the employee on time and making sure he goes through the phase smoothly than how the UI looks like. So in a model-driven app, it encompass several stages, and this is majorly driven by the data that comes in, not necessarily the UI. So it has only one kind of database it can connect to, which is Dataverse, and the UI is not as customizable. You can't really be flexible with model-driven apps. Then we have Power Pages, which is used for building your website. And these are the various solutions you create. You can have them in desktop display, mobile display, and also on your PC. So when we talk about the Power Apps, Power Platform architecture, this is what makes it powerful. It can connect to a number of connectors as a form of storage system, to SQL Server, to cloud systems, and a lot of integration based on whatever subscription you have in your organization. Then moving from there, the next thing that makes it also powerful is the ability to integrate with a lot of your Office applications, making it easy to automate things around in the organization. So our first example here, this is a replica of one of the projects I got to work on when I joined a particular organization. And here I'm calling this organization ABC Limited. So at ABC Limited, it's a financial organization. It has several domains. One of its domains is GTQ. And GTQ has large capacity of employees. The main business area is to manage everything that is related to fin crime, which is more about compliance. So GTQ has a particular project where they track all this project in an Excel spreadsheet. So, and this project is different from the task each department within GTQ is meant to do. This project is meant to drive innovation for the organization in terms of how they do their own business. So each department should come with a strategic and innovative idea as to how they will improve their own business process. And basically present this in calibration meetings to leaders. Then they agree to build this project. And such project is down tracked in an Excel spreadsheet, and budgets are agreed, everything is aligned, due date is aligned, and immediately they begin such projects and start working on them. But here comes the problem. The process they are using to track it became a problem. So the first problem here is that leaders find it very hard to read the updates on the Excel reports. There's a report from that Excel spreadsheet, but the update seems like a whole lot of words to catch up with. So leaders are not quite comfortable with the way updates are written in that Excel spreadsheet. And this is because sometimes managers just want to show that they're really doing their job. You know, the more the words, the more it looks like you're doing a lot. So, and leaders are not keeping tab with this. So the second one is that it's a scenario here where this is Robertus, a manager in GTQ domain. So Robertus cannot meet up with his project deadline. So he goes behind the scene and look what he would do. He goes to this protected due date cell and immediately tries to change his due date, cracks the code behind the scene and changes his due date. And he's happy with himself because he's been able to achieve that. And he doesn't have to go to calibration meetings and look bad that he didn't meet it with his deadline. He will argue that what is on the Excel spreadsheet says November that, not October. So he's quite happy with himself that he's able to pass that phase. But this is not good for the leaders, on the other hand, who have to meet up with reporting on QBRs and reporting on annual reports, basically to share what the budgets on each project has been able to bring to the board, and also be able to tell what the impact of what their expenditure has brought to that particular business process. Now, they cannot do that because of this kind of things. This is not just the only problem. Secondly, we have another problem that is also seen amongst the managers. So this report is given to the leadership team first week of every month. But managers don't end up entering their dead date until rush hours, which is the end of the month. So everybody is on their laptop trying to just enter their updates, you know, at the same time. We have this kind of problems in some organizations where people try to collaborate in Excel spreadsheets. So everybody is punching at the same time, and this happens. People are writing on other people's projects. And you can see the exclamation on their faces. This is a lot to deal with because I just want to be done with entering my updates. Why should I have to deal with people overwriting what I am already done with? So the next problem is also with the analyst. Now, the analysts, I work with these two people. In the domain, we have Grace and Victor is responsible for basically creating reports. And he begins to see this kind of messages when he's trying to create his report. A lot of data missing, I entered this into my project, I can't find it. So he's trying to catch up with all the managers, and you can see he's already exhausted. Not even doing the actual reporting, but fixing data quality issues. So that's a huge problem, and he spent a lot of hours doing that. This is not supposed to be his job. This is not why he was employed. He was employed as a data analyst, not as someone who manages quality problems that can be avoided. So how do we solve this? We move back to the first process, which is process rethinking, and I was able to bring out some of the defined problems from the scenario we just had. So in order to solve this, we need to evaluate various solutions with respect to this particular problem that has been clearly defined out, so that we can map directly as to which particular solution effectively addresses this problem. So the first consideration was Microsoft Forms. This whole problem was brought to me to think about it alongside with my team. And the first approach I was thinking about was Forms. Why don't we use Forms? At least nobody gets to override. But then you realize Forms on its own cannot basically, it cannot do the updates properly. You can't go back and update your project, especially when you have several projects at the same time. So that became a solution that is not solving a clearly defined problem. So the next solution we thought about was a great collaboration tool in Microsoft 365, which is SharePoint. So SharePoint has the ability to allow people to enter their updates without any problem of overriding anybody's entry. But the problem here is we need to share the link to the SharePoint with the managers, and they have to access it and be able to enter their own updates. And this brings another problem, because remember this guy, Robertus. So one of his good aspects is he has affinity with that particular column. If he can't meet up again, he still has the opportunity to change the due date. We need to be able to avoid that. So we need to be able to control what comes in, put validation rules that can stop such kind of behavior, something that doesn't necessarily look like a macro that somebody can break easily. So we need an interface. So we thought about, that's where I discovered Power Apps for the first time. And we thought about Jira too, which I think is an awesome project management tool. But the organization said, no, we don't want any third-party project management tool on this project because we're already investing a lot on the main initiative. So let's scrap Jira out of it, use what we have. So, and every organization has Microsoft 365, but most of us don't even use the Power Apps aspect of it, the Power Platform. So I discovered Power Platform on this particular project, and I immediately recognized when reading the description of what it can do, that it clearly like solves all the defined problem and creates a new one. Now, sometimes people like Robertus and other managers also have genuine reason for wanting to push their project due date. So we need to give them the opportunity to request for a new one. And there we introduce the project management piece of this particular solution, where we are going to have a project management flow, a workflow that enables someone to request and somebody approves based on the justification that was given as to why they need to push the due date forward than the main date that was initially agreed upon. So we chose Power App because it clearly maps with our defined problem. Then we move to the process of implementing and testing that solution. So these are the various considerations for the design. And Power Apps was used for the interface to basically put all those restrictions in terms of the updates, number of words that should come in, the due date once upon first submission, we should not be able to edit it again. Then if we want to, we will have to trigger a Power Automate flow that sends a project manager some email for approval. Then we have Power BI that will manage the reporting, and we have SharePoint that will be responsible for the back end. But this SharePoint will be very well hidden that no one else can access it. Now we have our solution architecture. So this is Power Apps, which is going to serve as the interface, and it can create, read, update, and delete the database. This is what they will use to log that particular project. And they are also going to edit via Power Apps. So when they need to request for a new date, like the rationale that we gave, and somebody has a good reason, it is sent through Power Apps and submitted. The request for a new due date with justification. Then automation trigger is done with Power Automate, and it sends the email to the project manager, who then either approves or declines. Based on his approval, if he approves, then immediately it changes the main due date information on the back end. And the person gets an email that your due date has been changed and it has been approved. So this has been able to take care of these three. And now we have the reporting part, which can be embedded in Power App as a Power BI report, as a Power BI tile in Power Apps. And Power Apps then serve as the interface for managing the entire project. And everyone can be on Power Apps without having to go anywhere else. So this is the entire solution. Now we have a good UI, and the leaders will be happy with the succinct information they get on Power BI. So this is what the tracker looks like, and this is what the BI report looks like. And this you can drill through to focus on the main intent that you want to get an update on. So here is Victor and Grace evaluating the solution again. So we placed a link inside the Power App to be able to open it in two screens, where you have like the Power BI tile in another screen. So here, Victor is comparing this quality, and he's quite happy with the solution. So is Grace also, who thinks this is perfect. And they don't have to spend 3 days analyzing quality issues anymore. They don't even have to do the reporting for the month anymore, because this is automated. So that has been taken out of their job, and they now focus on major critical issues rather than dealing with such kind of trivial problems. So here we have the board meeting. They read the user guide, and this is just the board of leaders basically presenting the entire solution architecture to the other board members, right? And they are telling them how it was built, what was the back end, what it looks like, what the interface is like, how they are able to get updates that are not as huge anymore. And now they have like this platform that helps people to also go back to what they have and requests for a new due date to the project manager. And we have Power BI that is able to give them just what they need. They are able to drill through, they are able to use the tooltip to get just the succinct information that they need. And they can access this board on their laptop, they can do it on the tab, on the go, and they don't have to wait to enter their update till the end of the month. So whenever they remember, they could get on their phones too and just enter this update, and they are good to go. And they believe that this is one of the perfect solution that addressed all the problems that they had with this project. So, and you can see they're quite happy with their solution. So we'll move to the demo. I'll just quickly move to the Chrome tab, where I should have a bit of that. Okay, so this is what the Power App window looks like. This is Canvas app, and this is the place where you design the Power App. And these are all drag and drop components. So I am just going to show us how the project piece works here. So I'll play this up. I'll just go to this point. Keep this. Yes, this is the app. And it resizes to fit the window. And you can change this to either phone. Okay, I think this mouse is faster than my hand. You can change this view to fit the canvas instead of the window. So you just make it compact. So here I want to edit a project. So let me scroll. Maybe I see my project here. And I come here and I click on edit. Edit the project. And it opens this window. So it has the ability to bring this, and you see the request for extension for due date. This can only be seen when the project is on edit mode, meaning I want to edit my formal entry. But if it's on new mode, this entire row requests for extension of due date will not be visible, because then the due date will be available for, you can see the project due date is not even adjusted. It can't be touched at all. So then we move to the due date. Now I'm going to trigger the automation flow by selecting. So now we have 5th, 25, 2025. So I'm going to go to 2025 and go to the middle of the year, for instance. So let me just quickly navigate there. And we have the 31st. So let's go with the 31st as the new date I want to request for an extension for. I just want to extend my project by 2 months. So you notice that after clicking on new due date, it makes these 2 columns. This is what we call required, the star. So if I try to submit this form, it doesn't go into the submit mode. It triggers an error that you have to write this. So I basically select that I need my project to be approved. So I just basically choose the status of requested. Then I come to the justification and I write the reason. So I'll just say, I need more time. Let's just assume this is a justifiable reason. Then I submit this. So this should trigger a Power Automate flow to the project manager. So you should receive an email. So the project manager in this case is called OZ. So OZ should receive an email that should tell him that I'm requesting for a change in due date. So I'll quickly navigate to OZ's email. This is what the email looks like. And now we're waiting for some trigger. So before the trigger comes in, I will just quickly go back here and show us the new mode. You see the form? So you won't see anything like request for new due date because the project due date does not exist on this path yet. So, okay, still waiting for that trigger. I'll go to the home page. And if you notice, each of this project, I can see their updates at the other end. And each of them, I can see each of their updates clearly without having to warm all the updates together. So this is how the interface looks like. I'm going to close this. I'm wondering why I've not gotten, let me go back to our email to see whether the email has come through. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this and see for sure. All right. Let's check if this person is supposed to receive the email. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Power Automate flow and check what the problem is. So I have this that says when an item is modified, it should basically send a trigger. And this is what the workflow looks like, and I have the conditions here. So I'm just going to check here this first condition to just know what the problem is. And I have new due date equal to this, and the approval is got to requested, which matches that analogy. So I'm going to go back and try to edit again on the studio to see what it could bring this time. So I'll go to choose another project. Okay, this one has been adjusted before. Let me go back. Requested, yep. Submit. Okay, so I'm going to check the stuff itself to be sure what's happening. So this is the back end of the entire project. I'm going to edit this and check the request for new due date. Okay, it didn't come here. All right, I think I'll let this one slide for now. And just try another automation route. Okay, so I'll go to the next example while I think about why that one is not working. So the next one is on escalation. So sometimes in a financial organization, we have the do right thing where you're supposed to do, you're expected to obey the code of conduct of an organization. Like if anything goes wrong in that particular organization, you're supposed to raise your hand and something that doesn't really comply with the standard of how things are supposed to go. So you're supposed to raise your hand and basically escalate the event. So some of this event could just be maybe someone collecting gift from a third party who is supposed to be a vendor, an instance like that, who is supposed to be a vendor, and they are basically collecting gifts from them in order to approve new projects from them, which is against the code of conduct of that particular organization. Or something that looks like an internal fraud, where somebody is selling internal information to their family members, something like that, so that they can basically go for a particular trade in favor of their own family over the entire organization. So that seems like a fraudulent activity. So you're meant to raise some of these events. So in this is the escalation hub where people are meant to raise this event. So I'm going to basically raise an event here. Just add one thing, add a new item. So this is also a Power Automate form. And this is how this is created. This is basically a replacement for InfoPath, for organizations that use InfoPath. You can quickly trigger, you can quickly integrate Power Apps here by coming here, going to Power Apps, and choosing Customize Form. But I've already done that, so I'll not be doing that now. And I'll just go to the grid view here and enter a new record. So grid view, and add a new item. So I'll just call this test 2. And call this testing. This is like I'm triggering an event, and this event is for maybe not for fraud this time. Not normally I dream of fraud. Let's say I suspect something that's like a potential fraud in the other organization, and as a good employee, I just want to report the case, and the date I'm reporting is today. So I'm reporting this case today. And the reporting party, the person that I'm trying to report, his name is Wen Luke. And then I go to the branch I'm reporting from is Lithuania. And this is in relationship to a third party, not an internal staff, maybe. So I'll just choose third party on this. Then I can choose the criticality, maybe high. And then I can submit this. So once I submit this, I'll just exit it. I'm supposed to also get a trigger. So that trigger will then tell someone to basically review the case and approve whether we should actually work on this or not. So if it says we should work on this, then that person serves as a form of control to ensure that the specialists are working on things that really make sense, because their time in the organization matters as to what they spend on each thing. So if the control room says that is supposed to be approved, they get an email. So the person responsible for the control room should be Oz. And I would just go to Oz's email and see if they got, okay, so the escalation finally came through. All right, we'll leave that one. Maybe just some internet issues. So here it's saying alert, something has been escalated, you should work on it. This is the ID, and I can go to the escalation hub. So when I go to the escalation hub, which is where we are coming from, just navigate, which is where we are coming from, I would just say this particular case, I think it should be worked on. So I'll change it from pending. I don't want to use this interface, so I'll just close this one. Rather edit in grid view. So I'll just change this to, instead of pending, I'll change it to approved, proceed, and give it to someone to work on. So this should also trigger another automation flow. And in the automation flow, it should assign it to the individual that should work on it. And this is the place where we have the list of our specialists. So this list can change over time. So it says that bribery and corruption, the specialist who should be working on it is us. Then for fraud, I should be working on it. For money laundering, us should be working on it. So in all of this, it should trigger an automation that sends an email. Since we chose fraud, it should send an email to me. So let me check my email. And it's still on the way. Okay. So basically, it should send me an email saying that I need to work on a case, then I should go and start working on it. So that is what that particular automation flow is for. And this is what it should look like. The first one that sends an email and the control room review looks like this. And the other one that actually sends an email when the item is approved looks like this. And it basically uses data operations, gives it a condition. All these are all drag and drop. It's just if this, then that. So it's just saying this condition, if it is equal to approved from the control room and the status is still new, then assign it to someone. And that person should be somebody who is a specialist in either fraud. So the switch is to choose which case it is. If it's fraud, it sends an email that is meant for a fraud team to work on. So it gives all the details of that email. Then if it is something relating to AML risk, it sends to somebody who is a specialist in AML risk. So it just switches to fit the particular condition. And these are the major things here. Yeah, so this is how it works, the automation flow. And it's basically a drag and drop away. It just simply, you think of adding anything here. If I click on add, I just add an action. Then I just choose one of the actions that relates, and that's it. Then I fill the necessary information. So it doesn't really require a lot of coding skills. It's just the ability to understand your process and just build what can solve that particular problem. Yes, I think we are out of time, so I will just have 2 minutes. Interesting. So if we want to build like a quick Power App, I'll just show you quickly, or do we have any questions? Any questions? Okay. How did I create, or when did I create? How? It's just AI. It's the use of AI. You said? I think it was more of Copilot, then moved with a little bit of CapCut to put them together. Yeah. So I can just quickly show how we can use Copilot, if that can be something we can show quickly. So even to build an app, there are several ways to build an app easily. You don't even need to follow the actual one. So these are various prompts. This is generative AI that uses LLM models. So I can just tell it I want to create a project management tracker. Then I can move into context to give it the details as to the examples I want. I'm saying that it should have okay, now I have an error. So I have project management tracker. Then I want to tell that the project management tracker should have an update table that has a many-to-one relationship with the project. So this is majorly text, generative AI. So if I click on this, it works on creating the table behind the scenes. And I'm using my developer environment. So we have default environment. When you're in Power Apps, you have to switch to the environment that allows you to create. So this environment allows me to create, and it's just behind the scene working things out and building it for me. So I don't need to think it. I don't need to think about building it at all. You see what it looks like? It has milestones. Then if I think I don't need milestones, I can just delete milestones from this. Just click on this and remove. These are just the tables behind your application. And I'll just remove this. And this is what you have. And you can view what the data looks like. If you think the data is not okay with you, you can add more information with respect to the data. This is what it looks like. But if you're good with it, you can see it's a one-to-many relationship. If I move just above it, you see it's a one-to-many relationship, one to star. So I can just come to Copilot. If I still have more things I want Copilot to do, I'll just keep prompting. So everything about prompt engineering is on Microsoft website. You can check it and check prompting with Copilot. And that's it. And you can move here to either create a model-driven app or a Canvas app. So I chose Canvas app, and it will design everything for me. And all I need to focus is to just maybe tweak some colors and just make it context-specific to give me what I really need. Okay, I didn't really click on the app. So I click on this, and I click on Canvas. It should start creating something. Okay, I think we have a lot of network dealing with us today. Yeah, it's not proceeding. Yeah, but on a normal day, it's supposed to just start the whole process of creating something. That's about it. I don't know if we still have any other questions.